folks. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Lots of controversy, of course, surrounding the budget deal, which the House will be voting on within the next couple of hours. The Senate probably next week at some point. Let me read you from our friend William Kristol at the Weekly Standard, where he's founder and editor, of course. So the deal will be a small but significant step towards strengthening our national defense and should help produce a Republican and conservative electoral victory in November. Critics can say that such a result is Mickey Mouse. To steal a phrase, I guess, from Wayne Gretzky talking about the Devils oh so long ago. Anyway, I could retort that the critics are goofy, but I won't. Instead, I will say that if this deal is Mickey Mouse, it's time to join the Mickey Mouse fan club. After all, it's made for you and me. And we welcome in the author of that, William Kristol. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you?
That was very, very, very clever. I don't need to tell you it was clever, but I enjoyed that part of it immensely. But you say, I don't know if you're saying, I guess you're saying it's the best that the Republicans and conservatives could expect to get at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Obama's president. The Democrats control the Senate. The deal is pretty small on both sides in terms of the spending, the mandatory tiny reforms in return for a little more domestic discretionary spending over the next 2 years. I think the defense, reducing the defense cuts is a good thing, and that's important, I think, in terms of policy, the most important thing in the deal. But politically, I think it's useful. It takes the shutdown off the table for the next year and a half, which is probably good for Republicans. I think it allows conservatives to really focus on Obamacare and not have us, Republicans and conservatives, fighting each other for the next few months, which might otherwise happen. We have some history of that after all. So, maybe people might be confident they could have negotiated a better deal than Paul Ryan. Maybe they could have, but it's sort of an up or down vote at this point, and I think people should support it.
Do you think that when push comes to shove that the majority of Republicans will vote for this in the House?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll find out later today. Now, on the other side, you have the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi reportedly today told her caucus, embrace the suck. In other words, if you think the budget sucks, embrace the suck. That's allegedly a direct quote from Ms. Pelosi. But they're furious that there's that unemployment benefits were not addressed here. I have this fear that this budget will go through, it'll be passed, it'll be signed into law, and then the media and the press find an issue to demagogue against the Republicans that these poor people get kicked off their unemployment insurance around Christmas time, holiday time, et cetera. They're starving kids, blah, 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 blah. So just because it wasn't put in the bill, I think the Democrats might have gained a victory on that because it'll be brought up separately in the Senate, and they'll try to bring it up in the House. And however the Republicans try to block it, if they do, they'll be portrayed as evil again.
Well, but if they put it in the bill, it would have really been enshrining in the bill bad policy. I think on unemployment insurance, people are pretty grown up. I mean, it's one thing to have 26 weeks, 52 weeks of insurance, unemployment insurance for people who've, got a bad break and got laid off. 99 weeks, I mean, it really deters people from finding new employment. It slows down labor mobility. We have a piece in the Weekly Standard this week by an economist saying, look, if you want to spend some of that money to help people get jobs, there are things you could do, job training, pay for people to go travel to jobs, but don't just give them unemployment insurance, which they only keep getting if they remain unemployed. It's got exactly the wrong incentive. So I don't think that's a policy debate Republicans and conservatives need to be scared of. And, I mean, the Democrats can try to demagogue, any time on any issue, minimum wage. And some of these issues, you do a snapshot poll, people say they're kind of for increasing the minimum wage. Most people look at that number. They think that's kind of a low wage. It would be nice if people got more. You do sometimes have to go against public opinion, at least temporarily, and make the argument. But I think once you make the argument, people tend to understand how markets work and why some of these government regulations aren't such a good idea. And again, I just keep thinking, let's get back to Obamacare because that is such a fiasco. And that is the example of liberal social engineering. And Republicans just need to be hammering away at that.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. We're talking to Bill Kristol here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you about John Boehner, who made remarks yesterday blasting conservative groups and then doubled down today, just a little while ago. Do you think that was wise? Do you think it was a smart choice of words or the right path to go down for Boehner? And with Paul Ryan standing right behind him, I think both times kind of smirking, or at least maybe that's the way he just looks. But I mean, do you think that alienating or picking a fight is the way to go?
I think both sides now, some of the establishment types and the Tea Party types, if that's the right way to put it, they're now spending too much time resenting each other and taking shots at each other. And I mean, if they want to, there are going to be disagreements. This is a big political party. Conservatives are a big movement. There are going to be tactical disagreements. There'll be substantive disagreements at times. They're legitimate disagreements. I don't think it's a good idea to attack other people's motives or to smirk or to, I don't think Paul Ryan was smirking maybe, but to the degree Boehner is being exasperated, it's a tough job he has as Speaker, but he wanted it, and he should just put up with people not always agreeing with him and move on. That's the guy. I don't think either. I think there's been too much on both sides, I think, of sort of making it seem as if people you disagree with are just don't deserve to be part of Congress or don't deserve to be part of the movement or are selling out or have no principles. People can honestly come to different judgments on some of these issues, especially when it's a tactical issue like this one. So I think everyone should calm down and focus on the common enemies, Obamacare here at home, Iran abroad. One of the big developments of the last 24 hours, I know you've been following this, is the Democrats who some people had hoped were going to sign on to the sanctions and to some tough measures on Iran have been peeled off by the White House. Those negotiations apparently have collapsed for now. The Republican Party, and I think this is a sign of to the credit of the Republican Party, is the party of skeptics, the party who's willing to be tough on Iran, and the Democrats who talk a good game, some of them in the Congress, Schumer, Menendez, Hoyer, and at the end they succumb to White House pressure.
Right, and we just brought that issue up, specifically Hoyer backing out on that resolution with Abedini, the wife of the Pastor Abedini, who said she pleaded with the Democrats not to abandon her husband. Always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you again.
Hey, great, Steve.
Thank you. William Kristol, ladies and gentlemen. He, of course, the editor and founder of the Weekly Standard. Maybe the two sides could bring him in as a peacemaker. The two sides in the Republican Party, what I'm talking about. Okay, when we come back, we're going to be joined by Matt Kibbe, and he is the president and CEO of one of those conservative groups, one of those targeted by John Boehner yesterday and again today, chairman of the CEO of Freedom Works. So we'll get his response to what Boehner had to say, his response to the budget, and his take on the whole shebang, as they say. And all that will take place, of course, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And that, of course, is on Newsmax TV and radio. Don't you go away.